You think you know hierarchy in design and layouts. Big fonts, underlines, bigger titles, but there's a hidden side of hierarchy that 90% of us don't really fully understand, and it's probably ruining a lot of your layouts. A lot of making editorial design, magazine layouts, even websites, or any sort of design where the viewer is interacting with it is all about designing the viewer experience, right? It's all about designing where your eye goes, what comes first, what comes second. A lot of my design when I first started looks like this. How do we bring it into something like this? So stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll be able to direct the viewer's eyes like directors and make your layout impossible to ignore. So before we get started, a lot of you guys are not subscribed, I think over 90%, and I have to cry myself to sleep every night. So if you can, hit subscribe. I want to hit that 100 mark. Thank you guys so much. So what are we talking about in this video? Well, a lot of people know about the hierarchy of text. We want text on the page to have a size, to have a underline if they're important, to have bold if they're important, but that's really only half the story. You can only make things go so far with only text. The other half is image hierarchy. Now, there is kind of a weird thing that happens here where 1 + 1 = 3, where if you understand how to make image hierarchy work with the text hierarchy, then you have something that is absolutely extraordinary. So this is the next missing piece. We need to understand 4 core concepts to fully master image hierarchy. Number 1 is size. Number 2, layer. Number 3, contrast. And number 4, something that I think is very important, is the gaze. So let's start with number 1, size. Now, a lot of people say that size don't matter. I'm here to tell you that it absolutely does when we're talking about layouts. So here we have 2 pages from our online magazine, Omni. I'm gonna get you guys to take a look at the pictures, right? There's 1 picture on the left, there's 1 picture on the right. With these 2 pages pulled apart, you can already tell that the image on the right is going to have more presence on the page than the one on the left, which makes a lot of sense. If we put this together and you can see this as a single spread, you can see that the big image is actually taking over the entire page, which is a great example. You always want your most important images, your most important text to be the biggest element on the page. Next, we're going to talk about layering with these 2 Vogue magazine covers. You guys tell me what you see between these 2, how there is hierarchy on the actual page. Take 3 seconds to think about it. Okay, what did you notice? Let's focus in on the relationship between the title and the actual model themselves. So on the image on the left, we have the model basically standing in front of the actual text itself. Which one comes first? The model. You're going to see the model first because the model is in front of the text. Even though the page is completely flat, it's a 2D piece of paper, there is some depth that is going on the page. The image on the right, however, is going to have the Vogue characters in front of the model. What does that do? Well, it fades the model back, of course, but it gives more attention to the actual Vogue letters that is on top of the model. So using this to your advantage, you can create depth and you can make people focus on different things. Even though it's a 2D flat piece of paper, you can create depth that creates that 3D, that layering, and that hierarchy that is actually on the page. So the next one is contrast. Let's take a look at this image from one of our earlier videos. You can see that the image is actually the biggest thing on the page. However, when you take a look at this image, the first thing that you see is not the image of the subject looking down, but it's actually the red V that is popping up. So this kind of utilizes what we talked about in our previous one where we talked about layering, but also it's something about contrast. So all the other colors on this image is a lot darker and doesn't have as much contrast, as much bright colors as what's going on with this red V. Therefore, we will pick it up first. And that's just the first thing that we're gonna see when we actually look at this page. So using things like having a really bright color is something that I do in actually most of my thumbnails. So if you guys want to check that out, take a look and try to figure out how I'm using contrasting colors to try to grab your attention. Hey everyone, I know school is back in session and what a perfect time to get your Adobe subscriptions. So if you want to take everything I'm talking about in this video and put it into practice, get your Adobe subscriptions with my affiliate link down in the description. It'll really help the channel a lot and it'll just help support the channel keep going And as always, if you're a student, you're getting 57% off on all of the Adobe apps, which is crazy. So if you guys would like, get your Adobe Creative Cloud down in the description below. And the last one that I personally thought was very important to understand is the idea of the gaze. Now, what do I mean by that? I'm going to show you two different magazine covers. You guys tell me where your eye goes first. So this is the first one. Take a second. Where does your eye go first? And this is the second. Take a second. Where does your eye go this time? Okay, now they're side by side. What I mean by the gaze is that a lot of times your eye is going to go to the person. If you take a look at a lot of different magazine covers where there's a celebrity, chances are they're going to be looking straight at you. And us as human beings, how we evolved, we're going to respond to eye contact. We're going to look at people in their eyes, and the same thing happens when it's in a flat magazine. So using this trick, you can actually control where the first spot somebody's looking at just by putting somebody's gaze on the actual page itself. To further drive home this point, I'm going to show you one of our previous videos. So in this actual design, there's a lot of really cool things going on. There's a cool design. There's a lot of contrast in the red bubbles that you have there. Chances are your eye is going to be a little bit more divided on this page. But one of the things that you're going to see on this spread is the model that is within the cropped flowist forms on the actual page, right? Even though there's a lot of cool graphics going on, there is a big image and there is a lot of contrasting colors. Chances are one of the first things that you're going to see on this page is the model in the picture, and you're going to be looking straight at her eyes. So this last concept can be used with all four of the ones that I talked before, and I think is one of the most important concepts that we can use in the 21st century, right? We're moving towards more simple contemporary design, and so the last one is white space, but not in the way that you probably are thinking about white space. So I think of white space as something that's tied to the element of the picture or the text or whatever it is. So what I mean by this is if you have an image and you think of everything around the image as the territory of that image, so the more white space that you're willing to give it, you consider it as a single image piece or a single element on your page. That's kind of a good way to think about the importance of this image. So if I give an image that has a lot of white space around it, it's going to have a lot more dominance and presence on the page than something that doesn't have as much white space. Now, if we take this concept and we really think about it a tiny bit further, I'm going to bring up this layout that we had in one of our previous videos. We can think of the subject in this image as the dude that's actually on a skateboard doing a cool flipping trick, right? So if he is the subject and if he is the thing that we want to draw attention to, let's give more attention to just the subject. So in this actual image, we are cropping out what's less important, which is the background, and giving more white space onto the actual subject itself. So we're cropping out a lot of his limbs and his skateboard, and we're giving white space to it. And in doing that, we're creating layering, we're creating hierarchy, we give him the respect that it commands on the page, and you can see how dominant this one thing, this one element is on the page. It looks like he is straight up leaping out of the page, and chances are this is one of the first things that you'll see when you actually look at the page itself. So not a lot of people think about white space as a hidden form of hierarchy, but here we are. It's like if you're giving a speech and you have a nice pause, it's going to make that word, that next word, hit that much harder. That's exactly what we're doing here with the white space and commanding where the attention is on the page. So let's wrap up. Hierarchy is not just about colors. It's not just about sizes. It's not about just this one thing. It's about all these things combined together, and you make something and you're directing the attention of the viewer on the page. So today we talked about 5 different methods of directing people's attention on the page. Let me know which one you think is the best. Let me know which one you think is absolutely baloney. If you agree with me, if you disagree with me, I would love to hear your comments in the section below. So get that down, subscribe, like the video, share with your friends, whatever you need, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.